And we're live. What's up, nerds? Welcome back to another episode of the Aggressively Average Anglers podcast. And tonight we got a special guest. We've been getting a lot of questions about Old Town, specifically the new Pro edition of the PDL. So we got the PDL 120 Pro and the ePDL 120 Pro. We got a chance to test it out, and we gave you our opinions on it. Y'all had a bunch of questions that we couldn't really answer because we spent 45 minutes on the thing. But now we've got a guy who's just really involved in the production of this new design. So we're going to ask him all the tough questions tonight. This should be fun. But we got Ryan Lilly on with Old Town. Ryan, what's up, man? And how are you doing?
You didn't tell me there were going to be tough questions.
Only
yeah, we
tough
probably
questions.
should have told you that. We only throw hardballs.
We bamboozled him. We got him on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a lot of fun. I know there will be a ton of questions flowing in throughout the conversation tonight. So chat, get ready. Crack your knuckles, get prepped, start typing. All right. We'll take the questions. I'll post them up on screen. We'll ask Ryan. But of course, we've got a show to run through as well. Just a heads up. We got a switcheroo that we're pulling on y'all before we dive into this. We had said, Paul, you know what this is. Kayak Adventure Series. We had said we were going to Ohio, but because we've been proposed to go on to a fantastic trip, possibly a trip of a lifetime out to the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be amazing. So we're going with Kayak Angler Magazine and a whole bunch of cool folks. You'll hear more about it later. So instead of going to Ohio, because it's like the weekend, it's like days before we would leave.
Ohio, Vancouver Island.
Come on. It's really hard. It's not. So instead, we still want to participate in Kayak Adventure Series. We're looking at Pennsylvania now. So the Pennsylvania event, which is, what city is that in? Do you remember, Paul? I don't know. The Pennsylvania one. There's only one. So we'll be in Pennsylvania.
September 13th.
September 13th. That should be a fun one. So if anybody was looking forward to catching up at Kayak Adventure Series, we'll see you in September instead of in June. And then other than that, our members, all our new members, we've got you a members only live edition coming on May 13th. It's a Tuesday, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do another pretty cool giveaway on that one. Usually we do like 2. So if you're a new member, join us then. It's going to be a blast. All right, Paul, let's get in the show. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's absolutely do that. All right, so
totally.
our Q with the D. I think Jeff, you did this one. Is this more about like specifically Old Town or just when you're doing your own personal kayak?
This is like anything, any kayak that you're building, right? So I like to think of it this way. We're going to talk about non-negotiables. So you're doing a new kayak rig. What is like the non-negotiable? This is happening on this kayak rig. I don't care what brand it is. It's like you got a new whip. And you're like, let's go. First thing I'm doing is this, or the thing I'll never skip is this. What would that be for you, Ryan?
Oh, that's a great question. I would have to say a Humminbird. Graph,
the Johnson Outdoors family Humminbird.
Yeah,
straight to the graph. Let's go.
Yeah, I've grown.
What's are you like a Solix guy? Like how big of a screen are we talking?
Oh, come on now. No, I've been running the new Explorer, which is very nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not the most proficient fish finder user. I've got access and I use Mega Live 2, which is awesome, but I use it more or less to figure out where structure is and just I still kind of like the mystery in casting and wondering if something's down there. So I use it more of like a structure finder than a fish finder. But I've grown to really like fishing with a graph.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Shocker.
Full stop.
Yeah.
So do you do 360 then when you do yours, or are you?
I had 360, but I've all but abandoned it because I like to go as simple as possible. As things have gotten crazy, and because by nature of what I do, I've got to kind of bounce between kayaks a lot, and I don't have just one daily driver. So I have a mobile kit that, nice. I don't ever mount my transducer under the kayak. I have to move my kit around. So I've got a nice little mobile kit that
do you use the cell block?
No, I don't use the cell block. I do use the Yak Attack Switchblade.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I've got a battery kit that I hook into, and everything's contained on my, Yak screen holder, Switchblade. Hooks up the battery quickly. Everything stays above deck on my own personal rides. I keep it simple because I got to bounce a lot between boats.
Gotcha. All right. I like it. Paul, what about you?
Dude, mine's the Anchor Wizard. It may not always come with me, but
Sure.
I either have if it's a if it's a motorized kayak, I have the wheel in the back to drop the anchor in the back, and then I gotta have an opportunity to drop it in the front as well. So those are my it's one of those things where I have two Anchor Wizards, and they're just always whack-a-mole, like which kayak they're going to be on and where. But it's one thing that there's no reason not to have it. It's such a space and time saver, and it's so easy to rig up these days where I'm like, I don't even buy the full kit because I just have two of the drop tubes already. So I have my Anchor Wizard, and I'm like, I'll just grab one out of the box and drop it on a kayak. That's like the first thing that's going on every single time. Because I
can honestly say I've never used one. I've never used one ever.
Missing out.
Can I send you one? I have two.
I've got one. I've got a couple.
Oh my God.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
Well, and it kind of because we do a lot of shallower water fishing, right? So pond hopping, stuff like that. So it's not a lot of big water. And if I do go on big water, it's like Lake St. Clair, which is you don't need a super deep anchor or anything. And there's I've just got spot lock for the first time too. So it's kind of that kind of changes things for me, but I still, if you're fishing the river, I got to have a drag chain. It's a must have. I must have. So yeah, it's probably still going to be Anchor Wizard. It's like it's a go-to.
The drag chain is spot lock on the river.
It is.
That's like how you essentially treat it. So
yeah.
I like that. And to not say the same answer, it's almost at this point, dude, it's almost like the bow mount, like going with the spot lock on there over a stern mount motor first, because I mean, mostly we fish lakes. I love the river. Paul and I have agreed, like, we got to fish the river a lot more this year. That said, I definitely use the bow mount a lot more than anything else because we go out on lakes, ponds, whatever. If you get that windy day, spot lock's a game changer. Yeah. I mean, it's been nothing but wind because it's spring in Michigan. Like that's what you get. So when you get that 18-mile-an-hour wind in the face, you just pump the spot lock and you're good to go. So it might be that for me, I think. Sweet. All right. And then chat, I'd love to hear your non-negotiables. Let us know. Throw them in the comments. That'd be awesome. All right, let's dive into it. Oh, Ted says, nah, dog, you want LiveScope Plus.
That's a Garmin dealer. So I think that
slinging deals.
He's gonna do that. He's gonna do what he does.
I love it.
All right, so we're gonna talk about really mostly the new release. So the PDL and the ePDL Pro. So the 120 Pro. Yeah. But we are probably going to get a little Old Town as well, because I think people don't know all the good stuff about Old Town. They don't know the history behind the brand. You guys have an amazing warranty and a whole bunch of other stuff that's really cool. So we're going to highlight some of that. But as people are going through, ask your questions, because we've got a ton of them from our video. So I know, Ryan, you took a peek at that one. We were lucky enough to get our butts in the boat, which is kind of actually hard to do these days on a new release, especially with the way this one's selling. And so, we were lucky enough to pedal one around and kind of show people some of a zoom in on some of the things that have changed. So ask the questions that you got for the Old Town. I already know the 3 or 4, maybe 5 that are going to come up, and they're in the show notes. So we'll hit the big ones, but there's probably some good ones. We have a good kayak angler crew here. So ask your questions. We'll get to them when we can. Yep. My first question, Ryan, is can you kind of walk us through just like sort of your role at Old Town? We see you on all the videos, we see it iCast, we see what you do, but what does it really mean to be Ryan at Old Town?
We're a small budget operation. That's why you see me everywhere. So my official role at the company is I'm charged with content marketing for Old Town. I've been with the company for 9 years, and my role has morphed over the years. I was a brand manager / product manager for a while, but also wore all the marketing hats. And as we've grown and expanded, my roles kind of morphed to more content and PR. So that's why you see my face a lot. But I'm based right here in Old Town, Maine. That's where Old Town's based. Our parent company is Johnson Outdoors, which is a large portfolio of brands. Old Town, we're the smallest in the portfolio, but the portfolio also includes Humminbird, Minn Kota, Jetboil, and Scuba Pro, which is a scuba diving company. So it's a global company. It's family owned by the Johnson family still. And, I've been fortunate enough to be employed by them for the last 9 years. So it's been an awesome job. It's a dream job, honestly. And I get to be on the water all the time and get to focus on my passion. And so it's a really cool place to work.
Hashtag jealous, Paul.
You guys
why are we doing this?
1,000, maybe 2,000%.
12,000%. Also, real quick, we got Rockablades just starting to show off hot here with a little super chat. We got $10 from Rockablades. Appreciate you, bro. We were just talking the other day, like, we miss you. We haven't seen you in a long time. Have you seen Navarre's review? Is Old Town planning on addressing a thin plastic cockpit floor? Are they going to be any brighter? There's a lot of questions. Hang on. So we're just starting out the show hot with Rockablades here, man. This is something that I've been asked several times, so we're going to address this for sure. Any other brighter colors? Any plans on sidekick wheels for the Pro? So do we want to lightning round this, Paul, or do we want to?
I'll take it straight on, man.
Okay, let's do it.
Nick at Navarre does such a good job. And one thing that I think the whole entire industry appreciates about him is he tells it how it is, doesn't sugarcoat anything, super blunt. But he also, his cottage industry is making parts and pieces for Old Town. So his feedback's valuable, just like everybody else. We take a lot of people's feedback in, and he makes a lot of critical points about Old Town. We listen to that. We listen to everybody else's. But yeah, we've been testing this boat for, we put a ton of testing into our boats before we launch them. We don't rush anything to market. I mean, that's why it took 5 years to update the PDL 120, because we don't do anything on a whim. You can
say half-assed, it's fine.
Yeah, half-assed. And so that boat has been tested and tested and tested.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, our warranty is exceptional. So we're not going to put something out that we obviously think that we're going to open up liability for our business. Like, we don't want to be replacing hulls all the time. That's why we make them so damn good.
Do you want to be a hobby or not?
You're right. There's no concerns there, but we obviously monitor everything that leaves the building. So if we do happen to see that there's cracking or whatever, we're going to address it right away. And anybody that buys a boat that has an issue, we're going to take care of them if they're the original owner and have proof of receipt and all that stuff. So I'm not concerned about it. I've been fishing out of this boat long before we launched it, and no issues there. And if there is, we'll fix it, but nope, no concerns. Okay. And then as far as his second question was brighter colors, you get what you get. We consumer tested the colors that you see. They were overwhelming the winners. And so that's what you've got.
What is the lineup? Is it blue, the gray,
Storm
the gray
camo?
Black? Yeah, that
Storm camo is the blue, and Sierra is the tannish. Yep. When we did our color test, we do a lot of consumer testing, and we threw some brighter colors in there, and they underwhelmingly, anytime we try to introduce, because we get a lot of people say, I wish I had a high vis color. It never gets selected.
Where that chartreuse
go based on what the people say. So the people never, we're not going to put out a boat that we're not going to sell, right? So we don't want to sit on inventory, neither do our retailers. So we went forward with those colors because that's what the consumers wanted. And we based them based off of what is, current color trends. So we usually line up our colors based on what people are liking in vehicles and outdoor gear. So, and then we test it, and those are the ones that tested highest. And so that's what we went forward with.
The tan, you're going to make the duck hunting folks pretty dang happy, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then he had another question in there about sidekick wheels. Yep. We currently don't, we still don't recommend the use of sidekick wheels.
Now, by sidekick, there's the brand sidekick, which that's not
I'm thinking
work.
Boondocks.
I'm calling out Boondocks.
We're talking track mounted, right? So are we saying, Ryan, are you suggesting not track mounted nor the Boondocks where you actually drill through the hull?
I'm saying at this point, the company's stance is that we don't support that style cart because I'll be honest with you, we haven't tested it. And so we don't want to say, yep, it's okay. If we haven't tested it and it has our stamp of approval. So we still recommend that you use like the Wildy cart or the Yak Attack cart that you put underneath the boat and you don't mount anything to the boat. So that's still our stance. And that's what we'll support. If somebody has a warranty issue because of one of those carts that mount to the track, or God forbid, it's a scupper cart, or
you're done.
anything like that. It won't be covered under warranty at this time.
I think we're past the world of scupper carts, are we not? Like, is anybody?
You still see them, and it gives me the shudders.
It never sat right with me, and it never sat right with them kayaks that I was punching holes into. So, all right. So I get where you guys are coming from that too. I would definitely be interested on eventually seeing if you guys could test those out, because I'd be curious personally. For me, I've loved that style of cart. And Paul and I have spent many an hour at the ramp trying to shove a big fat kayak on top of those dang bar carts.
That's one thing that I have been meaning to do for a long time. Is figure out like a really good method for consistently, after it's off the truck, like after you fish, getting a kayak back on there like as easily as possible. I haven't figured it out yet. I haven't tried that hard either. Every time I'm like, oh, I should take 30 minutes to do that. Then I fish those 30 minutes and then I don't do any of that.
And then you're in a rush. And then you're just like,
and I'm out of here. I'm tired and I'm hangry and I'm like, and I'm in trouble at home. And I'm like,
I gotta go home.
All of these reasons I have not made that video, but it's something I really need to do, because I've seen people strap them and I've seen other things. And like, I'm kind of wondering, is like 2-3 foot cam straps, does that literally fix every problem that you've ever had with wheels or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, probably. It
probably does. I just haven't done it yet.
The other thing we got to keep in mind with those the swing down wheel options is that they're not rated for a lot of weight. So like the Boondocks is rated for the most weight, but the Sidekicks I think is 150 pounds, right? So it's like,
which modern anglers have a lot of gear,
right?
Even the lighter non-pedal hull weight with a seat is going to be about 100 pounds on average if you look across what's available today.
So I have abused that, and I roll my Titan X around, which is near 170 with gear in it down the ramp, and I do it constantly. So like you really have to heavily reinforce that section. Now that's a native, and they have the Sidekick wheels, so I think they're kind of like reinforcing it on purpose for that. They're built for it. But yeah, I mean, I know anytime anybody looks at these bigger kayaks, they're always thinking like, what's the easiest way I can get this down, and can I avoid a trailer? So for me, that's something like I would love to see in the future. I don't know if you guys would ever be open to testing them out and just seeing if you could roll with it, because for like a person like myself or Paul, we may eventually get a trailer, but we're truckloading these suckers all the time. So having wheel options is beneficial, I think, for a lot of people.
Absolutely noted. Yeah.
Sweet.
I love it. Conversations like this help me go back to the table at the office, be like, hey guys, remember that conversation?
I know we said.
Well, this is what I'm looking for in kayak companies, man. Yeah.
Part of it too is like I actually very tactically mentioned the warranty, because Hobie had that problem for a long time where holes were cracking, and that was sort of a known thing that kind of pushed a lot of people away from that brand. They had a decent warranty. It wasn't Old Towns, but it was a warranty, but it was like instantly voided whenever you wanted to use those wheels. So like, even though you could use the wheels, and no one's saying you can't use the wheels with Old Town either, right? This model, you are in a situation where when that happens, like nobody's saying I can't stand behind the product because it's not designed for it. So it wouldn't be the first time, right? So if you want to be able to have that amazing warranty where when you're the original owner, you could have that kayak for life.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of kayaks that can do that. Like, Crescent, right? There's a few, but there's not very many. So if you're a made in the USA, you're standing behind what you designed, there's going to be a little push and pull there. So, and look, people, I get it. Like if you don't care about the warranty, you're going to sell the kayak later, throw the wheels on, figure it out. Right. But that's not necessarily the design, which that's where it stands today. So it kind of is what it is. I do need to make that video. So I need to figure out that process. It's like something that
we were talking about it. I was like, what if we just tie a rope around the front of it and then you can pull it back?
That was I'm like wondering, like, what if it was just a hook? Like a hook.
Somebody already figured it out and we're thinking too hard. We just got to go on YouTube, dude.
I think I made a video about it. I'll send it to you guys. It's pretty slick. You roll it in and pull the wheels out. It's pretty slick.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, that'll reinvigorate me. I'll feel better about this. I've been infuriated recently.
I should post like the full video of me at one point.
I was ready.
You saw it. You heard me. I was talking to you because I knew you were going to edit that.
I know. I cut it out of the video we posted on Monday, you guys. But Paul recorded his whole like loading his kayak back into his truck.
Yes.
And I think it was like 7 or 8 minutes of Paul.
4 tries
of trying to put it on the cart. Then he pulls it. It falls off the cart. The cart turns sideways like 3 times.
Yep.
And he's just getting like,
I'm not getting happy. I'll tell you that.
he was getting upset like a dad.
Yeah, it was the father voice. So when you guys, my next question, well, actually, it's still my first question. When Old Town's looking at its lineup, and you guys are like, it's been a long time since the Sportsman came out. It's not actually been that long if you look at kayaks, but in the world of kayak releases today, where like every year 3 or 4 get released, it's been a while, right? Since Sportsman lineup actually came out. By the way, I had the Predator MX when it came out, and I'll never forget the video of the dude standing up and paddling in it in a pool, and like that. I was hooked on Old Town from that day forth. And then the 106 is still one of my favorite kayaks, and where I point people all the time when they ask for, what's the best value pedal kayak? I'm like, you can't beat the 106. There's no piece of water you can't fish out of it. Yeah. And so when you guys look at the lineup, and you're like, well, we love the hull. It is probably arguably the best hull underneath in the industry. But you look at your lineup and you're like, well, we haven't released anything. We did the EPDL, but that was also on an old, platform, the Big Water. And you're like, well, do we release a totally new model and do the whole thing and buy a new mold and blah, 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 blah? Or do we do what you just did, which was, let's do a monster refresh. Let's fix all the things. Let's modernize the Sportsman and basically play catch up, right? With an industry that is just the speed of kayak fishing industry is insane. And so you're like, well, we can instantly catch up. How do you make that decision? Like, what are the factors?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, when you invest in a mold as a kayak manufacturer, it's a huge investment, right? Yeah. So you want to try to get as much out of that mold life as possible, because it's a huge capital expense. Yeah. So it's not like, when you launch a boat that you see the end date being in 2 or 3 years, you're going to throw it out and start fresh. Like, you're going to try to think forward and be like, all right, when we launch this, we're going to want to modify this over time and improve things over time, while also introducing, new product at the same time. So, when we launched the Sportsman line back in 2020, really it was bringing the greatest hits of the Predator series and the Topwater series, and then introducing a few new models, the Autopilot, the 106 MK, Salty was new. We brought some new boats into that family called the Sportsman. Mm-hmm. And we did such a good job with knocking it out of the park, especially with the Autopilots and the 120 PDL, that we didn't feel necessary to rush to make massive mold changes until we fully understood what was next and what the consumers really want. Because fads come and go, trends come and go, but we really wanted to see how people were going to interact with our product. And we wanted to see what our competition was going to do before we decided to move and make some massive improvements. And, like I said earlier, we don't make decisions in a vacuum. We work really closely with our pro staff and our pro team. We also do a ton of consumer research and focus group work to understand what the consumer's needs are. And we pay close attention to what our competitors are doing or where they're lacking. And really what's interesting is the Autopilot is still pretty untouchable. We have a unique opportunity because we're the same family. We're in the same family as Minn Kota, right? So we're able to work with our engineer partners in that other group, same employer, right? So we're able to work together to design a boat around the motor. And that's a unique position that no other kayak brand has. They're not in partnership or in the same ownership group with a motor company. And so what has happened is our competition has found really novel ways to get around that by being able to motorize the bow and the stern. And what we saw was there's still a market for the Autopilot, that somebody wants a nice, clean, easy, off-the-shelf solution that maybe somebody's not a DIY. I'm not a DIY guy by trade. It's not my passion to cut into a super expensive kayak
you just
and
paid
do all
for
that
it.
work. Yeah. But I know that a lot of people, that's what makes them tick, and that's awesome. But what we saw was, because the autopilot kind of introduced something that people didn't know they wanted. They didn't know they wanted spot lock in a kayak yet. And all of a sudden it was like, holy crap, this is changing everything.
Yeah.
So our competition had to find creative ways to add it to the front of the boat or add stern power to try to compete with the autopilot. But what that has done is it's created a subsect of the consumer that's like, well, I can have a pedal kayak and I can add a motor to it. I can have my cake and eat it too, you know, because that's one thing that we're seeing. And what we heard a lot from our customers was like, hey, I don't want to have a fleet of kayaks. I want to own one kayak that does it all, right?
Yep.
And so that's why you see like such success with the Titan X and some of the other competitive boats out there, where you can have a pedal kayak that you can motorize. You can have a pedal kayak and fill the hole that the pedal goes and just make it fully motorized, but have a pedal drive for when you want it, you know? So we saw this interesting trend kind of crop up, but again, we didn't want to jump too soon. We wanted to make sure that if we were to introduce a 4-hole pattern on the front of a boat, that we weren't just introducing a 4-hole pattern on the front of a boat. Let's take the opportunity to address some of the learnings that we have based on how people are modifying our boats and modifying other boats. So we took our time with it and did a ton of research. And rather than come out with another mold, another boat that would just cannibalize our own product, we decided to focus in on our best-selling kayak, and that's the PDL 120. Like, that's the number one selling model. And we wanted to, focus there first and take in a lot of the frequently requested feature upgrades and invest it in our number one selling boat. So now you still have the autopilot option if you want a just seamless motorized experience, or if for the people that want to have a pedal kayak but also have the option to put motors on it, you've got the option to do that. So we really truly see that this upgrade gives our lineup a really well-rounded, option for people. Like, there's truly something for everyone in the Old Town lineup.
There is a lack right now. Like, everyone moved so fast towards going fully motorized, either with one or both motors. Like, so many people just were like, yeah, we don't need the pedals anymore. And it's kind of surprising how fast that happened. That happened in like 2 years.
Yeah. It became a new category because it used to be paddle, and then it was like pedal kayaks, cool, and then autopilot. Yeah. And that blew everybody's mind. And then it was like, yeah, let's get bow mounts. And it was like, let's get stern mounts. Let's get both mounts. Let's ditch the pedals. No paddles. We'll just go motor only, and then you see the Bonafide XTR. You can't paddle that thing. Yeah. There's no pedal. You can't paddle it. I mean, you can if you want to hate your life, but you're going to motorize it. Like, that's what it's built for. And that's what it makes.
It makes me giggle a little bit,
Love a good
especially,
giggle.
In passion sports, like kayak fishing, like, people are really invested in the sport. What's really, like, I still think that the autopilot reigns king when you're thinking about floor space and just sheer amount of room that you have to fish. Like,
open
if you
deck.
like to fish standing, it's just got a huge open deck. It's very clean. And we've seen a lot of people complain about the price over time, but when you factor in what people are paying for a kayak and then all the stuff to make it do what an autopilot can do, you're above the price of an autopilot. So, like, it's
wiring alone. The wiring alone, take your man hours out of it.
Yep.
You're $400 to $700 done.
Yeah,
between through hole kits,
battery, accessories, wiring,
all that kind of stuff. Just to put the motor that you just bought on it is anywhere between $400 and $700 ish.
We've done it 4 or 5. I think we've done it 5 times. 5 times, now, and we've bought. We parted it out ourselves. We did new canoes kit is the next one we're gonna do. Yep. We did the native kit, and those all come with an upcharge because they put it together for you, But yeah, it's a lot. And I think, Paul, we made that argument when we where did we go? DNR Sports. We went to DNR Sports. That was the first time we got on an autopilot. Yeah. And it's still, like, to this day, I know it's very different from the XI3, from the front, the bow mount.
It's also way closer to you
because it's center mast, right? Yeah. So it's a different, it's a more accurate spot lock. Yeah. And it's totally different. But yeah, you're right. Like we made that argument, pricing it out, you already have it. Like it's already done, it's there. And now you're starting to see kayaks that are pre-wiring, right? So all of a sudden we're getting closer where someone's trying to autopilot their thing. They're like, maybe we can do this too.
It's such a good time to be a kayak angler though. Like, Old Town aside, there's a lot of great options out there.
Yeah.
And there's truly something for everyone. And you can set these boats up and make it as complicated or as simple as you want. You can go heavy and big and stable, or you can go light and affordable. Like there's just a lot of options. And that's what excites me. And what I do is like competition's good. It's going to drive us to continue to improve. It's going to drive our competitors to continue to, innovation is key to the growth of this sport. But like, it's just such a good time to be a kayak angler because there's so many options.
And I think people get very tied up in like ranking them and thinking like one is the best. And that's something I wish I could, like, after having been in maybe 30 different kayaks, I wish I could tell everyone there's not a best kayak. There's a best kayak for you, specifically you, but there's not a best kayak. Because like people go through and they'll be like, oh, like this new kayak release, but it's heavy. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's designed to be heavy. The XTR is literally built not to be light. Like that's not what it's for. It's for a very specific subset of consumers. Just like every car, like there's no scenario where there's a best car. Right. It's either going to be too expensive.
Subjective.
It's your situation is so different. There's a minivan for somebody. There's a Porsche for somebody else, right? And then there's a truck for another person. Yeah. Every single one of those people would give you a different answer on which one is best. And I point people at Crescent because I'm like, they're making paddle kayaks. They are not making motor kayaks. They don't care about your motor. They don't care about what you're doing. And when I go to, when I point people to Old Town, I'm like, dude, you're getting very arguably the most flexible hull. You will be able to stand in 15, 30 mile per hour winds on the biggest lake that you can get on. And then you can take the same kayak and go in the river and you can be very, very efficient. You're going to be, if you want to paddle it, you're going to be able to paddle, load it down just fine. You're going to be fine. It won't be the best. You'll be just fine. And when you plop, in my opinion, I've said it many times, the best pedal drive into that's for somebody. It may not be it's not for everybody, guaranteed. There's a better kayak for somebody else, but like to have every kayak be all things to all people, it's a miss.
It's
because
impossible.
You guys are all doing this against everyone. Right. I want to own this consumer, and then we're gonna let someone else have the other consumer. I can't be all things.
Yeah, and we're I don't think we'll ever be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. No. Yeah. And that's anybody that's listening that might be looking for a new kayak. Like my advice is to go to a good dealer that offers demos, like Water Dog
Outfitters in Whitehall, Michigan.
Yeah, there's a
beautiful Whitehall, Michigan.
A lot of great dealers that will let you try before you buy, and really just like cancel out all the noise you hear on YouTube and all the noise you hear from wherever. And just try it and see if it fits you and fits your use case more than whether it looks cool or whether you can add a million things to it. Because to really take stock of like what you're going to do, where you're going to fish primarily, and figure out what's best for you. Like if you've got a bad back, maybe the XTR or the autopilot isn't for you.
Not a good
maybe
option.
The LTE or 106 is for you. Really think about your use case, where you're going to fish with it, what you think you're going to do with it once you buy it in terms of modifications, and actually get your butt in the boat and test it out. But what I can say is like, just make sure that wherever you're buying it from, the company that makes it, make sure that they're going to have your back. Make sure that it's a good quality build, and then make sure that whatever retailer you're buying it from will also have your back. So like there's a lot of overseas products that are flooding Amazon, and that it's really tempting because you're like, oh dang, that looks just like a boat like that
$400. Let's do this.
Yeah, but that
too good to be true.
Came on a container ship, and it was made in a sketchy building somewhere that you don't know where it was, and you're kind of putting your life in your own hands when also your purchase, like these are informed purchases. These are big purchases you're making. And you want to make sure that you can go back to the source and get help if you have a scupper failure or something like that. So, so that's our commitment at Old Town is we put the customer first. We bend over backwards to make sure that our customer's taken care of, and that we stand behind the quality of our product. So just make sure
that's the legend of Old Town, by the way. If you think about the discovery, how long that's been around, like there are people who have their original discoveries still floating around. Like,
and we don't stay in business
forever.
We don't stay in business for over 125 years without putting that customer first and our quality at the top.
But that's the thing. It comes up every time we talk about it. There's always pros and cons of every kayak out there, including Old Town. But like, one of the obvious pros we always try to point out with Old Town is just like the customer service is great, the warranty is great. You'll be happy with it. It'll probably last forever if you want it to.
You can beat the hell out of it.
Paul used to.
I do. Yeah.
Dude, Paul used to drag his Predator MX on
with
asphalt
with a strap like it was nothing all day. Grab it, whatever. Oh,
the hate comments would fly on those videos.
And I was like, bro, let me go.
Why are you doing that?
Let it go. I'm not worried. I wasn't worried at all. And I still sold that kayak. I think I sold it for $1,400, which is insane.
Yeah. It's like making money on it at that point. But I just
1,000%.
I want to point out, I love that we got into the subjective nature of kayaks, and we try to make this point on every single live or video when we talk about kayaks. When people say, what should I get? That's a loaded question, and there's about 15 sub questions that I have for you before I can recommend anything to you.
Yeah.
So, just saying, but yeah, I love it. Oh, man.
One question I had, so I really wanted to get into like a little bit of the nuts and bolts on how you guys design these, because my assumption is that this is something I don't know that I've always wondered. You've got a mold, you're gonna design a kayak. Do you actually get a kayak that's like a test model that you get to like screw around with and be like, does this work the way I want? Can I just tweak this little thing? Can we do that? Can we move this an inch to the left? Can I put the track a little far? You do. Like, how does that happen?
Yes.
How is that even possible?
Well, I can't go into trade details.
Oh, damn it.
That's kind of the secret behind our sauce.
Okay.
But yes, we do have a robust product sample process. So like we get prototypes, and we have a prototyping process. So we're able to prototype quickly, and we'll make half a dozen or more prototypes as and we'll test them. They're water ready.
Holy crap.
And we're in northern Maine. You guys are in Michigan. We lock up for half the year in ice. So we'll go to places and test them in the winter.
We'll go to places.
We'll go to places, with water and
with water that's open and not frozen. Got it.
Yeah. A lot of times, we work with the YMCA down the road from Old Town, and we'll go use the big Olympic pool, or we'll ship that prototype or prototypes places, and we'll do a lot of testing. So we do a lot of iterations while we're dialing things in. So
that's cool. I was really curious because I've had some experiences where I've seen some kayaks, and I'm always kind of like, and sometimes I'll be like, I'm like, I'll be,
how do we get
honest,
here?
I've wished to God, I've like, if you could have just called me and given me 30 minutes,
that could be a fly on the wall.
I would have found this, which not every kayak's perfect for everybody, but it would be something where it's like, like the foot steering. There was no way this was ever going to work. This was. But it's being advertised, and I'll be like, "Oh, son of a."
That's where like the speed, like it's like an arms race, right? Like everybody's trying to get stuff out and trying to get
at
with
certain
the trend,
points of the
right?
year.
Yeah, and that's where everybody's like, "Why isn't Old Town doing anything to update?" We're just taking our time and making sure that it is right. Not to say that the people won't get into the PDL Pro and say, "Oh man, I wish they would have done this." There's probably a reason why we didn't, or we might see after it's in market that, we're getting a lot of feedback about a certain feature where we can modify that over time, but it's one of those things that we take our time. We don't rush anything. And we've got an awesome army of pro staff and pro team. We got a 72-person pro staff that we are leveraging all of the time for feedback. And so we're not working in a vacuum, and we're making sure that when we come out with something, it's pretty dang close to everything everybody wants. So
that's what I kind of expect out of kayak companies, but
that does not happen all the time.
It does not happen all the time. But
people also have to keep in mind, like the kayak industry is so small compared to like automotive, right?
Yes.
So like the
Yeah.
scale
Oh
of
my God.
what we're doing is so much
Microscopic.
smaller than
Yeah.
like
But the
mountain bikes.
expectation is
Right.
higher.
Right.
So much higher. You'll
Right.
get a car and be like, my car doesn't have
That's
CarPlay.
fine.
And they're like, ah,
Right.
whatever. And you're like,
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
frick? You just spent
I'll just get an
50 grand
adapter.
on this
It's
truck?
okay.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But like, oh, my kayak
Right.
can't center mount a
Yeah.
screen. Throw it away. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What a bunch of trash.
Right.
I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what are you talking
Yeah.
about?
In the grand scheme of things, the kayak fishing industry is
No.
peanuts compared to some other
Nothing.
industries that have
Tiny.
such quick innovation, but there's a lot more money, right?
Yeah.
Take a step back
yeah.
and just say fishing in general. Think about this, you guys. Like, take the smallest pro sport that you could think of that's actually a pro sport. Those players are like USA Rugby. It's microscopic compared to basketball, football, or anything. It's a tier 4 sport.
Yeah.
They make more money than a pro bass angler does, that on average, on contract.
Soccer makes more than rugby.
Soccer makes
in the U.S., which is
massive
wild.
scale.
Yeah.
So like it costs money to be a pro bass fisherman. That's how small, not just kayak fishing, just
That's crazy.
fishing is. It's just
Big time pay to play.
It's hard to understand because every brand is fronting themselves as like a huge, massive, fully funded, brand, and they can afford to give out free stuff to everybody, and they're that big. That's not the case. Usually, like you mentioned, like a small team. When you find out how like big these teams are, you get to be like, 7 people made all this happen.
That's wild.
What?
Yeah,
it is
considering
pretty
the size of team, like the team that goes into building a car is
yeah.
You got
Giant.
people just focused on like doorknobs.
Exactly.
Teams of people just right.
We're in Michigan. They will fire and hire 10,000 people in the lifespan of redesigning one model
Cadillac
of the Silverado. No problem.
Right. It's bonkers. All right. Well, I've got a bunch of questions flooding in, and they're already on our list of questions. So I kind of want to hammer you with a bunch of like pretty quick ones. And then I want to get to the big one. So everybody who's asking about the 106, hold tight. We're going to do that last because I feel like it deserves more of a discussion. But there's some minor. You pointed out, Ryan. You're like, hey, someone will get in this kayak. We did, and they're going to say, here's 3 things I wish happened. We did, and I'd love to just hear your response because I've seen people chatting it up here in the comment section as well about it. So starting out, when I hopped in this kayak, there were 4 things I think that stood out to me. The first one. Right away, I'm a big captain's bridge kind of guy, right? I like my console set up front. And right away, we saw the track, and Paul and I were like, I don't think we can put it on this. So I'm curious, because you said sometimes intentional, sometimes not. Yeah. What were you guys' thoughts on the captain's bridge? Because the pedal drive, when it kicks up, would get in the way of what that is.
It's not that the captain bridge won't work.
Okay, so I'd love to see how it works.
We fully anticipate many people buying this craft and then buying a hole delete from Navarre or whoever makes one for the pedal drive.
I see what you're saying. Because you're just
putting the captain's bridge on, putting a spot lock on, putting a. So I think that we'll see that quite a bit because there will be applications where I just want to motorize one day and the next day and you'll have to you won't be able to use a captain's bridge with the pedal drive. You're correct. And the reason there was, we went to those crazy long tracks.
Yeah.
And if we skewed them forward to make clearance for the drive to stow, then you lost the ability to have it double as your handle. And we felt like having it double as your handle and get your screens and everything, like your forward-facing sonar, closer to your seat, because you're able to put your sniper pole real close to your seat now.
Super close.
And we felt like that was more important than having the captain's bridge way, way far away from you. Sure. To the point to where you're going to have to get out of your seat to control anything anyway. So we thought about that. And I do think that we're going to see people leave the drive at home and delete that hole and put a captain's bridge and have motor on the front, motor on the back. So it's not that it won't work. It just won't work when you're using the pedal drive. And that was a intentional decision.
It's a good call. Cause actually when you take the drive out, I had the drive out at one point, I pulled it out and I was like, holy frick,
feels like you're in a 14-foot boat.
There's no kayak that has that much room. That includes the Hobie 360 PA14.
So Paul was asking about this. You guys Old Town has produced a pedal drive delete.
We did
for the Predator. And nobody
bought it.
Nobody. We
Well, at
were
the time, at the
excited
time.
about it.
Yeah, we had them. Nobody bought them, and it's
That's
hard
the
to have
one
a
with
business.
the hatch.
Yeah, it
Yes.
still had
Yeah.
the
I'll never
waterproof
forget.
hatch.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I
I thought it was
that,
really cool.
and I stopped. I saw that on a shelf.
Why didn't you
at
guys buy
Waterdog,
it?
And I'm walking by, and I stopped, and I was like, "What did I just see?" I knew exactly what it was. when I
Hey,
saw it.
anybody, everybody's gonna get mad back at the office and gonna be so pissed at me. But anybody watching this that wants that, email our customer service team and say, please
no.
come out with a plate for
Yeah.
the PDL 120 Pro to delete the hole.
That's how you make it happen, people.
The people speak.
Yeah.
We listen. I just said
Fair
that. So
enough.
like Ryan saying it by himself. You know,
That's like
said
me
it.
saying it.
Paul said
yeah,
it.
exactly.
You guys
But,
said it.
No one cares.
It'll happen.
But no, honestly, like there's some things that we always try to keep in
Yeah.
mind. Like we don't want to be too SKU heavy as a company. Like
Yeah.
when we extend ourselves into too many accessories, we're sitting on a lot of inventory.
100%.
And it's hard for us to justify to make those again because when we made them a few years ago, nobody ever bought them.
Yeah.
And so when we go back and look at the historicals, it's like that's kind of a big risk for us to invest in this part that's just going to sit on the shelves.
Yeah.
And there is a nice cottage industry of parts like Navarre and some
Navarre.
other folks that are making stuff like that.
Good stuff
Yeah.
too. I have to
Great
say,
stuff. Yeah.
I've used 85 to 90% of what's on Navarre's site.
He does a good job.
It all
Does a
works.
really good job. Yeah.
Everything works great.
We loaded down Paul's 106 with it. Pretty much.
I literally used every. I was like, send me one of everything. I'll use
Yeah.
every single thing.
I will use, and we did, and it was good. I love it. All right, so good explanation there. Also, everybody tell Old Town you would like to see the pedal drive delete. Okay,
Well, it would
great.
make if I was in the room, I would raise my hand politely and say,
Can we please?
at the time when that was released, it didn't really make sense. It wasn't
100%.
and neither was the kayak. And now
It was
I would
too
say
late in the life
this is quite
of
literally
the kayak.
I think 70% of the ones that get bought are going to have a motor on them.
And motorizing is so much more prevalent now
not even close.
than it was when the Predator PDL came out. So like I full agree with Paul there. Now is a better time for it, but obviously the people got to speak to make it make sense to the higher ups, and I like that. So people speak, do the thing. Okay, so
also we got Drew Gregory in chat. So if anybody has any questions for Drew, just
Hey,
kidding.
Drew.
What up, man? Awesome. All right, so I want to stay up front in the kayak. There were two things about the drop-in bin, the front hatch, right? Well, no, the lack of drop-in bin, but like the front hatch area. So curious about drop-in bin, reason for, not for, and then also on the hatch. Thank you for making it larger. First of all, awesome.
What a freaking massive win!
We were so
cow.
sick of the oval. It was like a staple of Old Town, but I'm glad that we have the space now. It's awesome. I'm curious about not having hinge or straps on it.
Yeah, I honestly can't speak to why we don't have a hinge. I think when you add complexity in parts, you add the risk of things breaking.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go on a limb and say that's probably part of the reason there.
I'll break it, probably.
The other reason on the drop-in bin, that was discussed, but there's also like a fine balance. Like anything you add to it's going to make the MSRP go up. And so if we add that bin, it's going to go up by X amount of dollars. And we're always trying to be sensitive of making sure that our stuff is attainable. Like it's already expensive, right? So what can we live without in this boat to make it still kick ass, but also being sensitive to MSRP and cost creep. And also it's an opportunity like Navarre, whoever, they can make a bin for it.
They will. Somebody will.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that we could have added it. We talked about it, but it's like, it's more important for us to hit key price points that we know the consumer will be okay with than us making it $3,800 because now it's got a drop-in bin.
Dude, $3,600 is there.
35,
34.95, Paul. $34.99 actually.
So I actually while we were doing this, I'm making a list of all my favorite things because it's for whatever reason it's very weird. People are like very hyper focused on like these 5 things that I'm like, I hear you. I do hear you.
We
people are like, give me everything, but why does it cost so much?
And I'm at the same time, I'm like,
come as close as we can. I got
the one thing with Old Town that I think people just freaking airball on is like how long these have been out and how long the price has been at a point where it's like it's still. I mean, we just made another video. It was like a vlog style video, and it was like best values in fishing, like best kayaks in fishing, most slept on. The 106, even as it stands today, is still one of the most slept on at the price point. And I was like, oh, the LTE, oh my God. And then I got in the LTE and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Oh
There's
my
no
gosh.
world. There's not a single planet where someone, just me personally,
Say
not where I get
$300
into a
the
106
thing.
and then I get into an LT and I pick an LT. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
And that's
They
like
did a good job on it. They did a good job.
It's
on
fine.
It.
Yeah, I know.
A very,
no way, dude. I'm
for
sorry.
a very
like,
specific type of kayak angler, you picked it up with one hand. It's that person that wants to one hand it, chuck it in the water and go, I think.
Sure.
But yeah, it's also not for me. Bigger guys on that kayak, you're gonna have a set, not a great day.
You're getting wet. That's for
You're
sure.
a little bit smaller. I think you can have a great day on it. I think it's a great small to mid-sized person type kayak and throw and go. But yeah, you're right. Like I would still take the 106. Me personally, again, subjective, but I would take that PDL 106 over it. So, yeah, getting back to nitpicking against Paul. But so the hinge makes sense. Drop in bin, somebody will make it. Okay, I gotcha. And then we travel a little further back. Paul's writing other things that he's writing down his favorite things.
I am.
We travel a little further back. Here's the thing that always gets me with the Old Town, right? And you're gonna shoot me straight on this, Ryan. The offset power pole mounts in the back. If you're running power poles, great, because offset doesn't matter. It's a pole; it just goes straight down. I totally get it. For the guy, me, that wants to throw my NK 300 on the back, it can be frustrating because you're offsetting your motor, like, and it affects steering a little bit. If you're doing if you have like handle steering on that, maybe not necessarily such a big deal, but when you're doing foot steering, I find that we did it on Paul's PDL 106 with the Bixby and then with the NK 180 Pro on there too. And it was a little different on the turn radius too. So I'm curious thoughts on that because people are asking. I know it.
So those hole patterns are primarily designed for shallow water anchors. And the way it's positioned is so that the rudder won't interfere with your shallow water anchor. 100%. So we felt that it was more important to stay true to the shallow water anchor, understanding that there's going to be people that motorize it from the rear, but that's a small subset. The more people, based on our research, will power pole this thing than they will motorize it from the
really
interesting.
So I hope people prove us wrong. But with that said,
I never use them.
With that said, even though it's offset for the person that wants to mount it, there's ways that you can square it off with custom plates and things like that. To where if you wanted it square, you can do it.
Are you pulling out the rudder to do that? Like if you were going to do it, right? Let's say you're DIY Ryan.
The rudder is the next question. So
in a few weeks. So prior to Bassmaster Classic, so anybody that's watching that might be interested in this, we seeded 3 of these boats to our pro team guys that were competing in the Classic at the Kayak Championship.
Yep.
When we challenged them, we want each one of you to set this up however you would set this up. We don't want to give you any direction. It's a blank slate. We want to demonstrate to our fan base and our potential customers, our customers, what's possible with this.
Yeah.
And we gave them a camera kit and they filmed their own builds. And we're going to be dropping those videos over the next couple of months. Dontrell Sullivan, one of our pro team guys that's in North Carolina, he's a hammer. Yep. He opted to put an NK on the back of his.
Okay.
And so you'll be able to see how he did it, but he offset it and had nothing but good things to say about the performance and liked how it integrated and it didn't have any negative feedback. But I can, if you guys are curious, I can connect you directly and
yes.
I can. I'm gonna have to hit him up. I gotta see that.
I want to see how that works.
Same here. But the video will be dropping here in May, so you'll be able to see his build and what he did. But pretty cool to see. And that's exactly like the idea behind this boat is we really wanted people to have the freedom to. It's at the very least a pedal drive, and from there you can do whatever you want. You have the flexibility to set it up however you want, and that's what we're trying to demonstrate through this 3-part video series that's coming out.
Got it.
I'm excited. So, that's cool, man.
Yeah, I do. I really want to see. That's what I always want to see. The problem I always run into is when a new design drops, there's a lag for builds and like how you do things. So like Paul and I, if we get a new kayak, we're always like, what do we do? Or even with like the
no, bro, I get the
unlimited.
drills out and I'm like, let's go.
Well, yeah. after 4 hours of game planning or several weeks of like just brainstorming, we could do this, we could do this. Our wiring diagram on the U10 was like, all right, let's figure this out. We spent hard like 2 days.
I hate wiring. I hate it so much.
Wiring.
I just bought like a really nice fish tape. Fish.
That's critical.
Oh my god! I can't wait to show people that because I have so many people like with a little electrical tape and 10-foot of fish tape. You can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Dude. It's definitely a pain in the butt. I still always enjoy it, and I always love that we get into a project. We're gonna do a build, and we're like, all right, Paul, we got like 2 hours. We could probably.
I know that's
14 hours later, we're like, I think we're almost done.
we can start now.
You have to 5x the time. You think it's 45 minutes, it's 5 times that, man. Like every single time. All right, so last one, and then I want to talk about the 106 because it's been hammered in chat tonight. And I'm sure you've heard it at least once or twice. It's been popping up all over the place in comments. But the rudder. So somebody actually threw this at me in a comment on a video recently because we brought it up. I was like, I think I said in the video, I wish it could be underneath. Then I could throw my NK and everything would be fine and I'd be happy about it. And they were talking about how the position of the rudder being where it is further back as far back in the boat as you possibly can because it's hanging off the back of the boat is better overall for turn radius and that it performs better in that position. So you can confirm or deny that for me. And I've always been bothered by the flip up rudder. Like I don't know if that's just, am I crazy? But it bothers me that it has to come up and like over the top in the back of the boat. Cause again, that's where I want to put my motor. I got batteries or something back there. I understand there's space for it in the Old Town, in the Pro, much more space for it for sure. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the rudder position?
Yeah, so we found that rudder performance is better with the sort of rudder that we have on our boats, and it does come at a sacrifice, right? Like you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like you go to under the boat rudders, they don't perform as well. They're not as faster. Turning. You don't get as much blade in the water. If you do have a lot of blade under there, then you're dragging it on the ground and potentially breaking it. You don't visually see whether you've deployed the rudder or not. So that's a challenge. It just opens up potential warranty issues. So like we've opted to stay with our current rudder design because it just gives you better turning radius. And then obviously you can upgrade, like Navarre makes a aluminum rudder that gives you a bit more stiffness than our poly rudder. So like there's ways that you can kind of even amplify your turning. So, but yes, it's to the detriment of top deck space. Like I'd love nothing more than to figure out some sort of solution for our team to figure out some sort of solution that frees up that space. Cause it's a lot of usable space out back there that's taken up by the rudder. But, at the end of the day, it's a pedal drive kayak that we want to be able to maneuver well. And so that's why we've stayed true to that rudder design.
Just on the parts too. So it's like, I think when people think like on a refresh, this is kind of where I was getting at with like, do you get to do test modeling? And I was asking about sort of one huge question for me before we get to the 106. I'll calm down, everybody. It's only 9:15. Jesus. With the with redesigning one of these kayaks where it's a refresh, are you buying an entirely new mold, or are you taking the top half of the mold and buying half a new mold for however many you have to have
the
to
bottom
production?
half? Like the hull's like the same underneath.
No, it's a new mold.
The whole new mold.
Wow.
Got you.
That's big time.
That is.
Well, and when you factor in the PDL 120 is our best-selling boat, we have a lot of volume of that boat going out. So like if it was a top half only, for instance, like we'd have to pause making our current PDL 120. So like you're bottlenecking big time. So we understood that there's still going to be a lot of demand for our legacy PDL 120 on top of the PDL 120 Pro.
Oh yeah.
And so it just made sense for us to invest in the second mold.
I got you. And this, I think it was Waterboy 516, because he mentioned bumping into bridges and pilings was part of the reason why they wanted it back there. Because I had mentioned the video, like I like The Native doesn't have a great turn radius. I'll admit that, but like I do like how it stows underneath. It's like completely out of the way.
Every time I see the backside of a Native, I'm like, I'm so envious of the space that's afforded. But at the same time, I'm like, I really do like turning.
Yeah.
So
turning's fun. It's great.
Turning very important.
But that's one of the things that makes them such great river boats. I think people just don't think about how good they are in the river, and really
I predominantly fish in rivers and on the ocean here, and like you want to be able to maneuver.
Yeah.
So but again, like there's people out there that that rudder, like Jeff, that's probably not your cup of tea. So maybe the Old Town isn't right because you want the under the side, and that's great. Like figure out what boat's right for you. But like we've opted to stay to that rudder design for turning performance.
I think the hardest thing to remember for anybody in any hobby sport is like you're not the only person with this hobby. So that's where we've been much better this year, I think, than we have in previous years at trying to check ourselves. Like for example, right now I got Polly Chris in the chat here who has been talking about the Native LTE, and like we kind of ripped on it in that video because it just didn't perform the way
the video's not out yet. It drops on Friday. I still have to edit it.
Well, we didn't rip it that bad. We were not as impressed as originally. We were like, this is gonna be amazing. We promoted it a bunch on our videos, like just at first looks. Then we got on it. But a point we brought up in that video is when you stand at the front, when we were on the front on an unloaded LTE, the bow dipped, right? Like it, and like opposite of what you want. But I brought up, I was like, it was unloaded. I don't know. Maybe we just put gear in the back and that problem solved. The point is, like, oftentimes we'll look at a kayak and instead of saying not for me, but great for other people, we go terrible kayak. And like, that's just like the comment thread on any product in any hobby industry, I feel. And people get heated on this stuff. So we're trying to be like, hey, more understanding that yes, there's a lot of subjective nature to it. So while that rudder may bother me, I think so many other things on the kayak are great. So it can just easily outweigh that negative for me to that point. So, all right. Well, I think we've waited long enough, Paul. Should we talk about the 106? Well, let's do it. Let's talk about the 106. Sure. So everybody wants to know, we got the PDL 120 Pro. We got the ePDL 120 Pro.
Which we haven't talked about at all. I haven't been in it, but like I have.
We should talk about that.
PDL, but we haven't even talked about that for a second.
Let's talk about that next, because I think it's important. We definitely want to take a look at that. The 106. Do you guys have any plans for a pro model or an update on the 106?
Yeah, we're always looking forward. That's all I can give you. We're always looking forward to where we can go next. But like we started with the 120 with updating. Because the 120 is the #1 best-selling kayak fishing size, full stop. So, as soon as you go bigger or you go smaller, you're getting into niche numbers, right?
Sure.
And so the 12-foot kayak is a perfect blend of stability and performance. So if you're looking for ultra performance and you want that thing to cut through the water, you want narrow and you want long. If you want something that's transportable, you go short and you go light. And so but you're trading off, but the 12-foot size is just a perfect blend, and it's that perfect middle ground. You're sacrificing a little bit of performance for transportability, but it's like that middle ground, right?
Yep.
And that's what people want predominantly. Like if you're to pull everyone, 12-foot kayak is by and large the most sought after size.
Sure.
So it didn't make sense for us to start with a 106 because then people.
No. I totally get not starting with it.
Absolutely not. No.
So I think people are like, "Where's my little brother? Let's go."
And that's what it is. There are so many people that buy a 10-foot kayak and then see they're
becoming more popular,
and they go, shoot, what did I do?"
Yeah, and we have on the other end, we've got a lot of people being like, "When are you going to make it bigger?"
Sure. Jesus.
You got people on both ends of the spectrum.
They love a 14.
Made strategically, business wise, the best decision was to start with 12. Not to say we won't do a 106 in the future, but I can't obviously speak one way or the other on that. But just keep in mind, like the 106 is awesome for transportability, but you're losing out on performance when you go shorter. Even on our own 106, like the trade-off is it's great for throw and go and putting it in the back of your truck. It's still incredibly, you can attest to how stable it is, even though it's 10-foot size. But even ours, like if you were to stand up in our 106, I'm sure it's going to do the same thing as the LTE. It's like, you know, maybe not as bad, but like
maybe
when you stand up in it, your weight
Yeah.
is going forward. The drive weight's forward. Then you amplify that if you put a drive on the front. So like that's where the 12-foot size is great, because you can balance and trim a lot better than you can on a 106. So there's some things to keep in mind. Is like, me personally, I would buy a 106. Let's say we made a 106 Pro. I'd buy it for all the features except bow mount, because I think the performance might be a little bit wonky if you put 40 pounds of weight on the very tip of that a 10-foot boat. That's where I personally would go 12-foot or bigger for a bow mounted setup. So those are just things to consider. But like, are we thinking about it? Of course, we're thinking about a lot of things, but I can't speak one way or the other if we're going to come out with a 106 Pro or not.
Fair enough. We did put 2 motors, bow and stern, on a 10-foot kayak. It's on the new Canoe U10.
Yep.
I get it. I get where people would be coming from with that. And yeah, I totally understand with the 120.
Did you find that the weight on either end balanced it out nice, trimmed it out?
Dude, that thing,
it's
a totally
when you run
cut.
both. I don't think we run with just one.
I ran both. I haven't run singly with either of them yet.
We got to get out with just the bow mat, even just for a minute, just to test it out.
Yeah, because real world, I mean, people, there's some people out there that can throw the money at it and set it up with both. But most people, most everyday people like me, will probably opt for one over the other first.
Very good point.
Money. So like, think about that. Like, not everybody's gonna be able to throw it all on there at once. So I'd be really curious from you guys' perspective, like, what would your recommendation be on somebody fishing out of a 10-foot boat? Like, should they start with stern or bow?
So to me, stern. I know that the batteries right now, well, you say that, I kind of tend to agree. If I had the money, it just depends on you. It depends. It always can depend on the angler. If it's a general bass angler, mid-sized lake, not the river fisherman, I'm going to tell them stern every single time. You get so much bang for your buck speed wise. And then when if you can get the battery in the back, you can trim out really nicely. I think you can balance out pretty good.
Put your tackle back there. You put as much weight in the back as you can.
Once the battery's on the exact opposite side,
you can balance
under your seat, I think you're actually in a pretty good spot.
But we'll test it.
You're at 100 amps, so the 100 amps, they're not light.
It's 20 pounds, 25. Yeah. So
but it really depends on the kayak. There are some kayaks I would never do that on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, I'm not trying to rip on this kayak, but an example would be one that is like the LTE. I wouldn't do that. I would actually not recommend it just in general. Stern or in the rear, yeah, for sure. But like bow mount, I'm probably going bow mount a lot of times. But man, it really depends on the kayak. There's no always rules. Anchor was my only rule for everybody.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. We did the 106 question. I got a couple other ones. Big one for me. I kind of want to list some of the features of the 106 that people probably will sleep on. I have been in a bunch of different
120
or the 120 Pro.
Yeah.
And so I want to call out some of the changes that as I went through. My favorite one that surprised me the most was the handle, dude. When you were talking about using the Traxxas handles, I saw it, and in my brain I was like, "Oh no," because I've seen that a bunch of times, and it's okay at best. I grabbed yours, and you guys have a plastic handle grip underneath that is screwed in, and it was just chef's kiss. That was probably one of the biggest
handle. It was the handle we were waiting for.
It's the handle I've always wanted.
It is ridiculously
it's small things,
ergonomic.
right?
Oh, it's a big thing. It's a small size-wise. It's a huge deal.
I was like, where did this come from?
Especially in a bigger boat that you're going to load out. I'm telling you right now, I've grabbed the Native one, and I'm always disappointed. I love Native. They do a great job. That's the thing that's always bugged me. No question, period.
Yeah, that was one thing. We talked about that. Our lead engineer on that project, Brian Hill, did such a good job. But, him and I had a lot of conversations on those finer details, is figuring out where we can make small tweaks and small impactful decisions. That was one thing too. Like when we're looking at our competitor stuff, it's like, man, it is not a pleasure grabbing just track.
Sucks.
Yeah. So it's like, how can we improve that for, and that's a pretty low cost thing to just make it that much better, But when you've got a fully loaded kayak, and you're pulling from that front bow handle, like I don't want to just have bare, like I want a nice comfort grip. And so that was a nice win.
That was a huge thing because we didn't expect it at all, but when we were loading them up at Waterdog to go and test them out, we were like, wait, what?
I was like, what?
I didn't see that coming. All right, so we have a quick question that got brought up a few times, and I thought was hilarious because Rocco wants to airbrush a kayak burnt orange with a Dragon Ball theme. That's sick. So he's not the only one. 2 people tonight have asked, what happens if I paint my kayak? Does that void the warranty?
So long as the paint doesn't interfere with the
non-corrosive
plastic. Yeah. If it's non-corrosive, I don't.
It's polyethylene, right?
Yeah.
HDPE. So if you're an HDPE plastic, and you can test it on like, honestly, if you just go and grab this, it's the same plastic that you have for your the jug that you would like use for detergent, like laundry detergent. That's the exact same plastic. Paint that. If it's not corroding that or ruining that in any way or having a weird reaction, you should be fine.
You got the thumbs up, and you can reference this video right here.
Ryan Lilly said it was totally fine.
Sorry. Whoa. I said it was fine. I don't work for Old Town.
Another thing that was huge for me was obviously the front access, right? You've got that huge open space that's very modern design, and it's one of the better accessible hatches, and you can get right up to the very front of the boat. People, if you're not a DIYer, you haven't experienced the pain of having to stick, your arm like way up to some weird part of a kayak. That was big. But the one that will get slept on that people will not think about is the rear. There's the hatch in the rear, and it's right at the back, and that's a game changer, dude.
Yeah.
People will just gloss over that.
We knew with most people, like buying the kayak was just going to be the beginning. We know that they're going to add electronics, they're going to add motors, and we wanted to make it as easy and drill free as possible. And running the power cable from bow to stern is so freaking easy in that boat because you're able to get deep in the bow, and then you got your center hatch underneath the seat that you can coach it, and then you get to that circle hatch in the back, and it's simple, it's drill free. Like I've built out 3 PDL Pros now, and adding the bow motor the first time because I went slow because it was like my first experience. It probably took me 45 minutes. The second time, 25 minutes. Third time, 20 minutes. So like it's very, very simple. I didn't have to drill into any part of the kayak in order to put electronics on it and a motor on it, which is what we wanted.
That is something that a lot of people, a lot of people overlook that because you get things like the new Canoe Unlimited where there's no access through the entire thing. We use the gravity technique, but now we have what's the thing called that we're using now, Paul? Fish tape.
Fish tape
is going to make it a lot easier. So we'll experience that on the next build.
Still sucks.
But then you look at like the Hobie Pro Angler, the Native Titan X, when you have 3 access ports throughout 12 feet of length, it's so much easier. He's like, feed it up, feed it up, you're done.
And you bring up a good point. Like when you're asking why you didn't have like a removable tray in the bow, it's like we looked at the project and we're like, we knew we had a target that we wanted to stay $34.99.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, what's more important, that access hatch out back or tray? Or what's more important, having, certain features on it or that tray? So like we're constantly kind of running that through and costing it out, and making sure that we're making the best decisions based on the budget that we have set for ourselves, And we felt that hatch in the back was well worth the sacrifice that might have been other features,
It's funny too, because like the Native Titan X has the drop-in bin. I drilled the heck out of that thing. Like there's holes. It's just all taped up on both sides because I kept popping holes in it because I had to run wire through it. And then I was like, do I put my switcher in here? Like, maybe not. And like I drilled and re-drilled and re-drilled. And at the end of the day, it's like, oh, I guess I didn't need this. Drop-in bin. So I get the other end of it too. I get the other end for sure. Oh man.
The through hull will be also people.
Not many
DIYers are going to be like throwing a freaking party, and a lot of people will kind of forget about
Most
it.
Most kayaks don't come with those.
They don't, and they're clean, and they're in the locations were really well done.
Yeah. So it comes with 5, and we redesigned them, understanding that there's a lot of like a lot of the wire gauges have changed over the last 5 years since we launched the autopilot. We, if you take that through hull off and look at the back, we actually have preset circles.
Yep.
All you have to do is take a razor blade and slit from one end of one side of the triangle into whatever hole or circle you want.
Yeah.
And you just slide that wire in, and it's very simple. It's watertight, and it fits like 5 wires comfortably. So you can jam all kinds of wires in there. It stays watertight. It's super slick. So yeah,
that's a lot like the X-Tech.
Yeah, our engineers did a ton to that and did a really good job on those. And yeah, 5 is all you need, but you could also call us up and we could sell you more if you wanted to put more in there. So
nice. So replaceable too, which is clutch, because that's going to help a lot of people when they mess up, which is like us all the time.
I'll be calling you in a month.
I'll be like, I'm going to need 5 more of these because I broke all of them. All right. So then I had a couple others. Before I call this out, I want to call out our boy Stinky River Tom for the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. Says thanks for all you guys do. Wouldn't have gotten a kayak without your help. Looking forward to getting this monster on some river muskie. This guy hammers muskie.
He does.
Also, he's posting content. You guys go check him out.
River Tom. And he makes his own stuff too.
Mm-hmm. The bait design is what you want to follow him for, but also muskie, which is pretty cool. So thank you, Tom. Appreciate you, man. And then I had two quick ones. First of all, Bass Hole NH.
That was my next call out. This
the
was
thin gunnels, dude.
Oh my god.
It was one of the things we had been asking for because I mean, we had the 106 for a while, and it was always for me. I think I complained about it a lot more than Paul did. Every time I got into one of those Old Town Sportsman models, I was like, dude, I feel like I'm losing a lot of space here. So thin gunnel definitely opens up that cockpit a lot, which is really cool.
Well, we really designed the gunnels around the new tracks, and we custom built those tracks are designed for that kayak specifically.
They curve.
Yes. Yeah. And so, they're top load center.
Yes. Yep.
Or sides, which is really nice. And we designed the gunnels around those. And those tracks are burly and provide a lot of support on the gunnels. So we're able to, our whole mission with this project was this boat can't go wider. It can't go heavier. It's a little bit heavier because of the tracks are heavier because they're metal, right? But in the seat track shuttle system's a little bit heavier, but we couldn't go much heavier. We couldn't go wider, and we needed to make it feel a lot more spacious. And our engineers just completely crushed it.
The back end, when you just look at it, it's comical.
I definitely like that. Now, we did have one other question, which was like, yo, what up about that swivel seat, man? People are obsessed with swivel seats now.
They really are.
Listen, I have both my kayaks have swivel seats. I love my swivel seat. I get where they're coming from. So I don't know, when you were design, I know the seat I feel like it sits too low. So you would have to sit the seat up much higher, put it on risers or something to make that work in the pro model. But was that part of the design process at all? Did you guys even consider it?
We considered it. But it adds a lot of weight. It adds a lot of cost. And again, it was balancing. All right. Is this a short-lived fad? Maybe not. Maybe this is something that consumers want, but we felt like we wanted to stay true to hitting that $34.99 and not going up to $4,000 for a pedal kayak, and that's probably what it would have taken for us to get a swivel seat in there. And we felt like there was other things about the platform that were more important than a swivel seat. So
I'm here to tell you guys, I know Jeff and I would both probably give you somewhat different answers. I see why people like the swivel seat. I'm here to tell you, if you're ever going to paddle your kayak in any scenario, it's the worst thing ever.
And a swivel seat that locks if you're going to do that, pretty much.
Yeah, they don't have those. And also,
they do. There's one.
What?
I think you buy the upgrade kit for the Titan, and you can get it.
You can pay for it
off the shelf. Off the shelf,
coming with it. Yeah. And then the other thing too is they are way higher. The height is significantly.
It has to sit higher because it has to clear the gunnels. Is the main thing. Exactly. Otherwise, you can't swivel.
Yes,
your boat would have to be 48 inches wide.
My only comment ends up being to people, if you like it, that's awesome. Go for it, just like anything else. The flip side of that is, I have fished out of both a ton, and I've never been like, Well, thank God I have a swivel seat. I could never have lived without the swivel seat.
It's just a convenience. It's just nice to have.
Yeah.
I do enjoy having it, especially for casting positions, but it's not
Stand
required.
Yeah.
I mean, also that, yes.
Yeah, just stand up. The power plate, some of my other favorite things, the power plate next to we'll call it power plate, but the plate right next to the seat, dude, the positioning was outstanding. I loved that.
The drillable plate on the right side.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yep.
And then switching the location of the forward facing rod holder to the other side.
The right side.
Just could not applaud enough. What a win.
Yeah.
Huge. That was a big one.
Yeah.
And then, dude, the price point. I mean, people go try and buy a Hobie 360. You're not even going to be within $2,000.
Well, I mean,
there's no way.
Even used, we talk about this all the time. Like you could go on the used market. You'd have to get really lucky to get a used Hobie that is not 12 years old and also doesn't come preloaded with everything and cost $12,000. That's the biggest challenge because I went to get one before I got my Titan X. I was like, oh, I'll just get a used Hobie Pro Angler, and they were all $9,000 or more because
you can wait for your pedal drive to explode, which is the exact opposite of the Old Town. Which look at the gearing on the Old Town pedal drive. Yeah, you couldn't break it if you wanted to, and it floats. Good luck.
I will say that's one thing that I shifted my mindset on because I was totally. First of all, I was like, love the Hobie drive. This is my favorite. Still love the 180. 360, get out of my face. Because mine blew up on me 7 times. And then, dude, it was awful. And then we couldn't get parts. Paul's blew up too. So it's 2 for 2 failures.
Great idea.
And then I've always liked the Native. I think the Native is built like a tank. The Propel drive is great. And he owned the Old Town pedal. I never had an Old Town pedal. I've had Old Towns before, always paddle. And yeah, I've come around. I do feel like it is the best drive. So that's one mindset shift that I've gone through over the recent years. Because I'd be like, yeah, it's good. I like my Propel drive. But now I'm like, all right, it's fine. It's great
too. Yeah.
Sure. I like that. I like the Old Town one. And then the side handle for the rudder. Changing the position to the side versus the top. Another just thank you so much. At the time it was great, but that update, I was just looking at photos and I was going back and forth in my mind, and when it got released because I hadn't seen it yet, and I was looking at the pictures that one, that was the first thing that jumped at me was that. And then I saw the track and I was like, oh my God. And then I saw the gunnels and I was like, dude, we got to do this. Is amazing.
I'll take 5.
You almost get lost in the list of things that have changed. There's so many things, and when you get it, I'll tell you guys, when you see the pictures and you hear people talking about it, and you're like, yeah, you kind of get lost in it. When you actually have get your hands on it and start messing around with it, it's amazing how many things you start finding that you're you didn't even realize. There's a ton that went into it.
Yeah. So we also have Yakfishaholic here in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's throwing out a little option, a little challenge, maybe, if you want. So Ryan, would you be down if Chad makes it through the finals? Chad Hoover. Then we've got
Chad Davison.
Chad Davison, sorry.
There you go.
Hoover's already both Hoovers got knocked out. I forgot about the Yak Ops because of Team Bonafide. So yeah, Chad's got Chad, and who else? Who's the other one? Because we got Vibe and Hobie. Who's the other competitor? Keith, tell me. But anyway, so it's going to come down to potentially Hobie versus Vibe. Would you jump in and be like, yo, why didn't you guys get an Old Town and throw some shade on the competition? You down?
I'm not entirely sure I understand the question, but
have you been watching the Yak Offs from Kayak Angler Mag?
I've been loosely paying attention. Yeah.
Okay. So he's talking. He runs the Yak Off Awards, right? So they're putting custom kayak builds head to head. Yes. Paul and I might participate in this in an upcoming one.
Oh, we will.
Paul and I will participate in this in an upcoming one. But they put 2 anglers builds head to head, and then people vote on So it's coming down to the finals this edition, right?
Yeah.
And I think he's inviting you onto their podcast to see if you want to throw some shade on.
I won't throw shade on any of the competitors, but I will.
They'll be they're great. Old Town's better, but they're great. They're great. That's not shady.
I love AJ's new canoe, and then dude, Gene's Bonafide's fire. He's
always
been
is,
in it for
dude.
so long, man. He's been at that thing for so long. Have you guys seen his little magnet trick that he did? He cut the seat open, put magnets in it, like slid them into the material of the seat, and then there was like magneting like pliers and stuff to the like sides and underneath the seat. I was like, bro, that's next level. I was
next
like, yo,
level.
that's sweet. I love that.
Genius. All right. So yeah, so we're done. Oh, so it's Jake Suvak's vibe. Gotcha.
Yep.
So Chad
What a
Davison,
great guy too.
Jake Suvak's vibe, which he has a shear water, right? I think he has a built-out shear water.
Yeah, dude, and Jake's awesome guy too.
Yeah,
he does a great
we
job.
got Gene and AJ. If Gene and AJ are going head to head, that's gonna be a tough one. AJ's got a sick new canoe build. Gene's obviously top freaking notch, so that's gonna be a tough. It's been cool to see that though, especially for anybody who likes rigging out kayaks. It's given us a lot of ideas.
It's like inspirational to see what people are doing. Yeah,
I love it.
Makes me feel pretty lazy with my own kayak.
Like, I put my Humminbird on there. I was happy, and now y'all are like,
I can see structure.
That was actually not, dude.
I'm
that
catching
was actually,
fish. Like, what do you want from me?
That was actually my favorite part about the 106, like for the longest time, because I go back and forth. Like I customize a bunch of kayaks and stuff, but then I would jump in like a kayak like the 106. And I remember telling somebody, I was like, I think I was telling Jeff, I was like, honestly, I never even had to touch it. It fished so great the way it was. The instant reverse was fine. The pedal drive's super fast. It's not heavy. I never even put electronics. I put electronics in it because I had an extra set, and I was like, well, I guess I'll use it sometimes. But like I never put an anchor wizard on it because the drive and the turning radius was so good. I never needed it. Yeah. And I remember being like, I put a motor on it and I was like, I never used it. And I'm like, it was like the perfect, like I had you add two things and some wheels, and I was like, all right, I'm just as efficient as everybody else. I didn't add a single friggin' thing. That's why I love that kayak, and I tell people about it all the time. I have no problem pumping it up.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Do we have one more question, Paul? You want to hit him with one more, and then we'll go to Slow Roll Thunder?
The bottom, the bottom on the 120?
No, we already covered that, I think.
Did we?
I think we did.
No, paint. Yes. What somebody asked a question about, is the bottom exactly the same? They were wondering about the Burley Pro, and I think I had a couple of people ask me, like DM me and ask about the scupper mount, if it was the same. Like, do you mount to the front of the scupper mount on the bottom, or is it like one where you have to like clamp it like from the top and bottom? I think was the question
for transducer. So two questions. One, transducer mount on the Pro. What is that like? Two, will a Burley Pro keel guard that you used on your 120 PDL?
Yeah, bottom's the same. So like transducer mount underneath.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That was a miss on my part, you guys. When we did the video, I should have looked at it closer. So I owe you guys.
We didn't flip the boat over.
I didn't. I should have. I really.
Somebody else owned that boat that we were testing, Paul. That's why we didn't flip it over. But okay, so the bottom's the same. What about the transducer mount? What's that like on there?
Same exact. Yeah. So it's underneath. There's a scupper right, like toward the angler
center mass
in front. Yeah, center mass in front of the hatch that goes down to the bottom of the boat. And there's a little tiny, almost like trapezoid shaped puck that mounts to the backside of our kayak. Take that puck off and you can mount your transducer to it, and then put that puck back on the kayak. And it's protected by the hull on three sides. And it's the same mount that's on our autopilots. Any boat that we have a transducer mount has that same puck design, and it's proven. Yeah, works great.
It's the best way to do it. It's the best way to do it. 100%.
I agree.
I love that.
And the wire, transducer wire comes up. You've got a through hull wiring.
Through hulls right into
that.
So it's slick. Yeah.
It's clean. That's what you want. Like transducers, they got to be clean. It's as much as like I love my new Canoe Unlimited. I'm like, man, I wish I didn't have to mount this transducer right under my seat, run this cable through the dang thing, and have it be a scupper pinch mount.
Yeah,
which is my least favorite transducer mount.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Again, every kayak has pros and cons. So there you go. All right. Well, we're going to be rolling out of here in a few minutes, you guys. But first of all, we got to do some slow rolling thunder if we're going to roll out in the first place. So I've got a couple of cues, maybe some new ones, some refresh on this slow rolling thunder for guests here. The first one, instead of going like, what's the best boat snack that you can take out of the water? I want to know like, what's the worst boat snack? Like your buddy brought lunch, right? And you're like, I'm hungry. Bring me them snacks. And he rolls up to you and he hands you this, and you're pissed about it. What's the worst boat snack you could get?
It's that question to me first.
I'll go
Guess,
first.
Guess go. No, Paul. Guess go first.
No.
Ryan goes first. You
I'd
stay
say,
there. You be quiet.
A hot egg salad or tuna salad sandwich.
The hot egg
Oh,
salad.
that's savage. That's
The
like you
sun
did that on
toasted.
purpose. If you
Or
brought,
maybe it's in the cooler, but it's been sitting in the ice water and it's
Oh,
soggy.
The cooler ain't cool. Like
if you hand me tuna salad, bro, we are done. I'm leaving.
out
Both
of a
motors
brown
are on.
paper
I'm
bag.
out.
Bro brings a brown paper bag and you're
That's
doomed.
savage.
That's bubble gut like coming in hot. You're done. Your day's done. That's a great answer.
I don't know if I can beat that. That's so
Paul,
bad.
go ahead.
I was
you're
gonna
next.
say like broccoli. Like you bring like cold broccoli or something. Like he
vegetables?
brought like snow peas. Like
Dude,
you are,
all right.
we're not.
Shout out to my boy Bobby. We used to run a gym together. My guy would eat raw sweet potatoes, like straight up raw sweet potatoes. He was like, I gotta hit my macros.
He is built different.
Homie, he would eat the bell pepper straight up, which like
Oh
I would
my
do the
God.
bell pepper, but the broccoli and then the potato would come out. I'd be like, dude, what are we doing? Like,
Interesting. I don't think I've ever
Michigan
eaten a
Outdoorsman says
raw-
pickled eggs. I got no problem with that at all. I'm good with that. That doesn't bother me.
especially if your boy brings out the full jar, like the
I'm good for
full
it.
jar
I'm
of
here
pickled
for it.
eggs.
I'm here for it.
Isn't that what Milliken does?
No, it's quail. He likes the quail.
Cool.
egg.
Oh,
I like
homie's
that
fancy.
better. That's more bite size.
So fancy. All right. So you said broccoli, Paul?
Yeah, like if you're eating cold vegetables, like what are we doing here?
Yeah. I would say this I'll eat it still, but the soggy sandwich, the sandwich with the dressing that 5 hours in is now
Yeah,
like
bro.
sandwich pudding. That'll upset you.
Yeah, wet
The
bread,
leftover
not-
Jimmy
not a good
John's.
snack. Before we go to the next one, real quick, I want to call out. We got Steady Stick in the house. Ryan, I don't know if you've seen their product. They make a really cool, dude. And it looks. I need to. If I still had my my PDL drive, I would mount that and show people because it's really cool. Like you can stand up on it. You mount the camera on it. And it really is like the most premium version of that I've ever seen. So if you guys are one of those people who use like a stand-up assist, like a strap, this is like by far the nicest version of that. Go check out their product. It's really cool.
And they started a really cool merch offshoot.
Kayak or
called,
Die.
Wait for
Kayak
it.
or
Wait for
Die.
it. I'll grab it right now.
My favorite hats and sweatshirts.
Yeah.
Shout out.
I mean, we've been rocking them. There it is.
Yeah.
There it
Good.
is.
Fire. I do need the sweater, but that is fire.
Casual
When
ask.
my wife takes note and says,
XL.
"That looks good on you," I'm like, "Wow, okay, wow." Yeah.
That's a keeper.
She didn't say that about that Sims.
Compliments
vest.
don't come easy around here, so she liked that sweatshirt.
That's awesome. All right. Last question. We'll roll out of here. So we're potentially going on. Well, we are going on.
No,
we'll
we
make it happen. We're going on one of our dream kayak fishing trips. Like first of all, we've never kayak fished the Salt. We've never been on the Salt with them. So it'll be our first time doing that. But we are specifically going near Vancouver Island. We're going to the Pacific Northwest, right? And that we've talked about it on shows before, right, Paul? Like way back in the day, we're like, no, it'd be really cool.
That's
like there's lots of options, but that was one of them. So we're curious for you, Ryan. What is a dream kayak fishing trip that you want to go on?
Well, I think you guys are going to have the time of your life. I used to live in Seattle, and for this job, I actually did a project out. We fished for king salmon on the Columbia River. It was
nice.
So you guys are gonna have fun. Vancouver Island's next level. I'd say for me, I would love to probably kayak fish Costa Rica, the Pacific side, or go up to Alaska.
Okay.
Salmon and halibut.
That's what I want.
Halibut's on the list for
it's
this
on the
trip.
list, bro. It's on the menu.
We're hoping. Fingers crossed. One of us gets.
I got
one,
dreams. I got big dreams.
We're on a call with the guys that are going on this trip, and we're talking about pulling the halibut blanket up over the just hey, look what I did.
I had a little bit of a taste of that. I was in Florida. We're doing a project down there, and I ended up hooking into a massive clown knife fish, which I would imagine feels like what a small halibut.
Yeah.
Like just the way it felt like I was dragging up a doormat. It was wild, but
That's
yeah,
absurd.
Oh.
Oh man. All right. Well, overall, been a great show. Thank you so much. You've been a fantastic guest, Ryan. So real quick, we always like to do this end the show. Anything you want to shout out? Any teasers maybe you want to drop ahead of ICAST? I don't know if you can, but like if you could, that'd be great on our show.
No, I would no, thank you guys for having me on. Thank you to anybody that's listening that owns an Old Town. Really appreciate it. And if you're Old Town curious, I would visit I'd visit your local Old Town dealer, get in one, try it. Might not be for you, that's all right, but at least give it a try. Really appreciate you guys and all the work that you do to put out good information for people that consider purchases, whether it's an Old Town or native or whatever kayak's right for them. But you guys are doing awesome work and really a big fan of what you guys do. So really appreciate it.
We appreciate you, man. Awesome. All right. Well, again, thanks for being on, chat. Thanks for being here with us. We love you guys, and we will be back again next Wednesday. Keep in mind, members, we got May 13th rolling up pretty soon here. So Tuesday, May 13th, we are going to have a members only live. We'll do some giveaways. It'll be a blast. We'd love to see you there. And other than that, okay, love you, Chaz. Take us out.